There's a lot that goes into determining what makes a player a top prospect in a draft class. You're always factoring in things like fit, production, NBA readiness, and desirable skill sets, but of course the number one, most exciting thing that everyone talks about is what prospects have the chance to make that leap and become a true all-star or superstar level player. Who has that superstar ceiling? Today we're going to get into just that. Just for fun, I've compiled a list of what I believe to be the top 10 highest potential prospects in the 2024 draft class. All of the traits have been disregarded. This list is simply who, based on the flashes they have shown or their physical traits, has the chance to be an absolute superstar at the NBA level. Now, keep in mind, this is just discussing theoretical ceilings. A guy could make it on this list even when he's a prospect rated in, say, the late first as a player overall, simply due to the fact that he's not even close to being NBA ready, but has certain traits that, if they develop, could turn out insanely well. It's totally possible none of these guys end up panning out or being that superstar, but these are 10 players I feel like have the best chance in this draft. So, with all that, let's get into it. For the honorable mentions, here are a few players I considered but ultimately favored others over them on this list. These players do have some potential but also some questions that hold them back from the top 10. The honorable mentions are in no particular order. Bobby Klintman. He's shown flashes of really impressive ability as an oversized scoring wing, but nothing to make me differentiate him from other large wings that are in the top 10. Trenton Flowers. Really, I think there's something there with this kid as far as just the eye test goes. Makes a lot of really impressive plays, but overall his shooting form and his handle, while fixable, do give me more pause in assuming he has more potential than some of these other guys. Isaiah Collier has some potential, but shot form is still a bit shaky, and his athleticism, while good, is not mind-blowing by any means. Devin Carter does a lot of things well, but he has a slower release, isn't as dynamic as some other guys off the dribble, and doesn't seem to me to have that elite lead scorer handle. Cody Williams, this is probably one of my more unpopular takes, but Cody Williams never has seemed like a huge potential guy to me. It's there for sure, but the fact is he's never really shown that take over the game mentality. Along with having average athleticism and below average strength, I see him as more of a higher floor, quality 3-and-D connective piece than a potential star. Khalil Ware, I have some pause on Ware simply due to the fact that I'm not sold on his motor and his quickness enough for me to assume he could be a star, but he's a really skilled big with the stretch ability. He very easily could reach a sort of Miles Turner-like ceiling. Donovan Clingan. I'm including Clingan here because I know people will ask about him because he is one of the highest rated prospects in this draft, but he isn't really a high ceiling prospect. He will be a quality starter throughout his career and a great defender, but he doesn't have any major traits to indicate to me he'll ever be a high-end offensive threat. Dalton Knecht. I've said before, Knecht has more of a ceiling than people realize, but his defense and his age do hold him back from the top 10 here. Rob Dillingham. I love Rob as a prospect and as a scorer, but this list is about superstar potential, and while I see all-star potential for Rob somewhere in there, the size and defensive questions do ultimately give me enough pause to leave him as an honorable mention. Zachary Richache, certainly my most controversial pick here to leave out. I will say he would be ranked 11, and the 9, 10, and 11 spots were really close. Richache will almost certainly be a very good player and does have an all-star ceiling, but he lacks higher end size and explosiveness and doesn't do a ton of self-creation. I see him as an almost certain high-end starter and possible all-star, but as for superstar ceiling, I'm just not sold on that. Nikola Tosic. Worth considering due to the fact that recent young Euro players with the level of success he's had at a young age have overachieved their draft selections. I like Tosic, and he does a lot of things well, playmaking, handle, etc., but he hasn't popped enough for me to put him in top 10 in addition to his below average shooting. He absolutely could be very good though. Now that we've made it through the honorable mentions, here are your top 10. 10. Stefan Castle. Stefan Castle is very interesting to me. There's nothing in his game that screams elite superstar trait, but he looks good enough at everything that the flashes of skill that he has shown gives him some degree of a ceiling. He doesn't shoot all that great of a percentage, but his shot has been consistently getting better. He wasn't the best playmaker, but he always made smart, winning plays. He wasn't a jump out of the gym athlete, but he knows how to get to the rim and finish. Additionally, he's just a winner and a competitor. It's almost a gut feeling that he has potential to be something great because it's not like he's an elite scorer, an elite playmaker, an elite finisher, etc. What he is a very good defender that competes and has that drive to get better and find a way to make things happen by any means. While I think that he will be very good, I don't think he'll end up as a superstar as of right now. But he is the one player where even though I consider leaving him off, I would feel like an idiot if he did become a superstar and I bet against him because he just gives off that won't be denied energy that you see in star players, even if the general skill set he has isn't ideal when it comes to being a true star. Number 9, Matas Buellis. The one reason why I like Buellis' high-end potential is because a lot of the major flaws he had are flaws that are coachable. There isn't much that he does wrong that he couldn't theoretically improve. Yes, his handle is a bit loose, coachable. His finishing could use some work, coachable. Defense is below par, that's fine, he's got the tools to get better at it. But what he does show signs of are things that you see in a high-level borderline all-star type. A 6'9" forward who looks smooth with the ball in his hands and has a shot that looks really good at times, who's really good on the break and really good at setting others up. I don't know if he has true superstar level upside. I think he may be missing some degree of quickness that superstars in his archetype typically have, but I can definitely envision an all-star outcome for him. Number 8, Pomare Dadi. I really like Pomare Dadi's high-end potential. He's been a lower-ranked prospect throughout the draft process, a lot simply down to his pedestrian production numbers, but watching him play, he comes across as a very fluid scorer. He has the ability to make things look easy at times, and as such a young player, the 4th youngest in the draft, there's a lot more room for him to grow. The most enticing aspects of his game and projecting his ceiling are his scoring/self-creation upside, as there are times where he pulls out moves that look like something a high-end number 1 option would use. And also he has really good natural physical ability, he runs the floor well, he has solid athleticism, great length, and is an acceptable passer as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Dadi really takes off, becomes a very, very good player, and becomes one of those players we look back as a steal a few years down the line, based on what I believe his potential could be. Number 7, Ulrich Chomchi. Here's your wild card on this list. Chomchi is raw. If you thought Trae Salonen was raw, this guy is even more so, and that's why you see him ranked near the end of the first round, early second in most mocks. But as far as high-end potential goes, he's got a lot going for him. He's the youngest player in the draft overall. He has impressive length, size, and physical ability for an 18-year-old. Defensively, he looks very, very quality already. And what really puts him over the top as a high-end ceiling prospect is how well he does everything else. He moves the floor really well, he's shown flashes of a handle, he shot nearly 40% from 3 on the season. I mean, there's a genuine scenario out there where Chomchi gets on a team to develop under a talented big, continues to work on his game, and becomes an absolute nightmare on both ends. A stretch big with the ability to lock down the paint, run the floor, and shoot the 3. That multiple-time all-star ceiling is there, even if he isn't currently all that close to it. 6, Ron Holland. There's just something about Ron Holland. He had some issues at the G League Ignite, obviously, but I saw enough of him to see signs that his potential could be still untapped, even when at times struggling with his shot. There were other times he showed great creation ability, a streaky but encouraging shooting stroke, and good vertical athleticism. His defensive game is what really encourages me. He looks like the type of player that'll be really good as a defender right away, giving him time to work and get his offense up to par with his defense. This, to me, sounds like a similar situation to what we saw with Kawhi coming into the draft. A great defender with flashes of good offense, but his offense wasn't nearly up to the level of his defense until he got to the league and was able to lean on his talent and work ethic to get it there. The situation and the similarities between the two are pretty notable to me, and while I'm not predicting the Kawhi outcome, the similarities, like I said, are there as prospects. 5, Zach Edey. Yeah, y'all are going to like this one. I've been on the Zach Edey hype train for a while now. While I don't think he's a top 10 prospect in the actual draft, there's too many questions with him. I think that his ceiling is actually quite impressive. People's concern is his defense won't translate, but what if it does? People are concerned that he couldn't shoot in college, but what if those flashes in practice are legit? He will be able to score as a paint player consistently. I have no doubt in my mind about that. But what does he look like if, in a year's time, we see that he's even further increased his ability to switch onto wings on the perimeter, as he's already gotten exponentially better at it, and he's at least developed the ability to space the floor to some degree, at least out to the long mid-range? If he carves out those skills, he is a starter in the NBA, and there's a realistic scenario he, as a starter with those skills, becomes a perennial 20 and 10 big man that teams really have to focus on trying to stop. I'm not predicting this, but the high-end ceiling outcome for Edey is a scary prospect for opposing teams, even as unlikely as it may seem to be. 4. Reed Shepard. Some may be surprised to see Reed Shepard this high, but he's proved out as wrong before. Many question his ceiling simply based on his physical abilities, but Reed Shepard's physical abilities aren't nearly as important as the skills he has shown when projecting his high-end ceiling. I've always said the best projection of future superstardom is having at least one elite skill and the work ethic to get all your other skills up to at least average, while always leaning on that elite skill. Shepard in college was an elite three-point shooter, like very, very good. His ceiling obviously incorporates that. There is an unlikely but within range of outcomes scenario where he comes into the NBA and develops into some degree of like a poor man's Steph Curry with defense, so to speak, or even like a Steve Nash. A guy that you basically have to pick up as soon as he crosses the half-court line because he is that deadly from three. Add that in with what he's shown as a defender, a playmaker, and as a crafty finisher, and I don't think it can be that far-fetched to see Reed Shepard in All-Star games if he somehow hits that highest-end outcome. Number 3, Nikola Tosic. I do rank Tosic as the highest ceiling point guard in this class, one of the top 3 overall, and it comes down to this. He has all the traits to be an elite number 1 playmaking guard in this league, except for his shooting. He's 6'7", great finishing ability. In my opinion, he is the best playmaker in this class, etc. If his shot develops, the sky is the limit for him. He was already very productive statistically in the top European leagues that he played in, without having that shooting as a true weapon in his game. And if that does indeed come around, I think you're looking at a guard who averages in the high teens for points and double-digit assists on a good team. Of course, the high-end ceiling for him does include the concept that he won't have injury issues, because that and the shooting are really the only 2 major concerns with him. Everything else ranges from passable to exceptional, and he generally has a lot of what you want to see in building a floor general point guard. 2. Trae Salonen. Trae Salonen has become the boomer bust prospect of this draft without question, and it really isn't that hard to see why. The guy is 6'10", athletic, huge wingspan, and really mobile for a player of his size. That alone is enough to consider him for this list, but the flashes of skill we have seen from him as well. The guy has at times looked like a major threat from 3, has shown some rare flashes of self-creation upside too. Additionally, he's shown some good things as a defender as well. Overall, the high end of Salonen is crazy good, like top 10 player good. Do I think he will reach that level? It's unlikely, but with what we have seen from him, he has the potential to do it, which not many other players can say. Number 1, Alex Sarr. Yes, the general consensus number 1 prospect in this draft is also the player I would rank as the highest potential player in this draft. It really all comes down to the fact that Sarr has physical traits that very few players can even get close to, bar Victor Wembanyama. You're looking at a 7', 7'1" center that has shown the capacity to truly run the floor like a small forward, and has shown flashes of being able to do just about everything in the book. Well, like I said in my scouting report of him, he is not Victor Wembanyama, he's not as pro-ready as Victor Wembanyama, and his potential is not that of Victor Wembanyama. It's closer than almost any player we have seen, and there does indeed become a scenario where Sarr's shot comes around, he continues to improve as a ball handler and a playmaker, and all of a sudden we have what then virtually becomes a slightly smaller Victor-type player, and that is 100% something other NBA teams would not want to deal with, and a player that would likely be an All-Star Game staple for years to come. And so with all that, that'll conclude this video. Thanks to everyone for watching. This is the first list I've done so far for the NBA draft prospects, so if you like this, be sure to like and subscribe. I've definitely got a couple more scouting reports coming before the draft, so keep an eye out for those. But with all that, thanks again for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hey, thanks again for watching this video. If you like what you saw, go ahead and click on one of these videos here to see more.